Hey, y'all, it's Melanie Hale with the Radiology Roundup podcast. And today's guest is Heather Koepp. Heather is the program director with the North Oak School of Radiologic Technology in Hammond, Louisiana. She has been an educator for many years, previously clinical coordinator, faculty, and she actually graduated from that program. So I know it has a special place in her heart, being connected that long ago and being an educator and program director there now. Heather's background, her education, she has a Master's of Arts from Southeastern Louisiana University. Heather has her Bachelor of Science from the University of St. Francis. Heather is the president of the Louisiana Society of Radiologic Technologists and is serving in her second year as an ASRT Louisiana affiliate delegate. A little side note, the Louisiana Society of Radiologic Technologists annual meeting is coming up soon. So make it a weekend trip and head to Lafayette. That is July 10th through 12th at the Doubletree by Hilton here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Yours truly will be a lecturer there as another amazing lineup of speakers. So grab some continuing education, network with some great fellow technologists, big vendor setup that she's talked about, and it's going to be a great meeting. So be sure that you make it a weekend trip, go to New Orleans and just have some super fun and get some continuing education. So guys, please help me welcome Heather Koepp. Recently, Heather, I saw her at the ASRT 2025. And Heather, you are in your second year as a Louisiana affiliate delegate. Is that right?
That is correct. So I've had the honor of attending the ASRT Educational Symposium and Annual Governance and House of Delegates meeting for 2 years in a row. It has been quite an experience. I will say that last year was my first year to ever attend, and it was so eye-opening. I call it Rad Tech Revival. You get to meet so many different people, so many nice faces, and it's just so nice to know that there are other people that are dealing with the same challenges that you are as an educator, as a radiologic technologist, as a manager, and just it's nice to get to meet people that speak your language.
Been looking at everyone's pictures and just been, understanding a little bit more about that. I've been going to ASRT for many years, but it's either been as a vendor or a speaker. And I honestly have never gone to the House of Delegates meetings. So I'm so glad you started talking about that. Can you tell us first, what is it? And what does it involve? I know there are representatives from the states, each state there. So kind of talk to us about that, especially someone like me who doesn't know.
Sure. Okay. So I'm definitely not an expert there. So
Me either.
again, this is only my second year and I'm learning it's so much. And I can tell you last year for the very first time attending, sitting there, I just was like, wow, this is incredible. And I would get chills. And especially, of course, whenever the color guard comes in and the presentation of colors and the national anthem, those are the things that just really, really get you, as well as the students do a courtesy resolution. So the Student to Leadership Development Program, one of the participants gets up and reads the resolution. And again, that's another one of those moments where you kind of catch yourself tearing up just listening to this student. And this year he was from Alabama. I cannot remember his name, but, he got up and he spoke about what it meant to him to be a Student to Leadership Development Program participant. And, you look around and you have over 100 students that are going to be rad techs, and they are the future. And it's just, it's a good feeling. So each state gets to have 2 affiliate delegates, I believe, and I'm sure the ASRT will correct me on this if I'm wrong.
I think it's 2. I think you're right.
Each state has 2, and then each chapter has 2. delegates. So
Okay.
I think this year there was about 138, 39 at one point that were seated in the House of Delegates. And there's two seatings. So the first one is on Friday, and then the second one is on Sunday. The meetings are they're very organized.
Mhm.
Shelley Pike does an incredible job of being the Speaker of the House. And Ashley, as the vice speaker, you almost just have to see it. And again, it's an incredible feeling to sit there. I have so much respect for the board of directors and the CEO. They have incredible tasks there, and they're
Mhm.
trying to make a lot of people happy. And I've served on a board of directors before, and there's just no way that you can do that.
That's true. That's
And
true.
these people elect our board of directors, the ASRT board of directors. So at some point, you might not agree with something or whatever of a certain bylaw amendment, but you've elected these people to represent you, and you have to trust that they're doing what's right. And I get that too as a program director.
Mhm.
Our students do not always understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it.
That's right.
And for that matter, the clinical preceptors, staff technologists, managers, there's
Yeah.
things that we have to do within our program that people don't understand. And I always tell them, just trust the process. Trust the process, because there's a reason for the madness sometimes. And so, again, it was an honor. I do plan to attend every year, hopefully. If it's not as a delegate, well, then, as a member, and I'll be seated in that peanut gallery back there that they talk about.
Awesome. So essentially, each state has their delegates that they have elected to represent at the House of Delegates and ASRT. And so you go there, you attend, listening to the board, bylaw changes, proposed changes, all of that sort of thing. And you vote on this? Yes?
That is correct.
Okay.
That
Okay.
is correct.
And you mentioned, I had it on my list. You mentioned the SLDP, the Student Leadership Development Program. Can you talk a little bit about that again for our listeners that may not be members of ASRT, or when they last went to an annual meeting or their state meeting, they did not have this program. So can you talk a little about that?
Sure. So it was fairly new to me as well. So in 2019, I became program director of Norfolk School of Radiologic Technology. And it was a couple years after that, I think it was maybe 2021
Mhm.
or 2022, and I saw that there was this ASRT Student to Leadership Development Program. I don't know that it's really been a program for a very long time, maybe 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
ish. I'm not
Yeah.
real sure of that time frame. I do know that the LSRT, so our affiliate, that we have our own student leadership development program as well. And that program runs the Friday of our annual meeting. So, to start, I'll kind of back up a little bit from the ASRT. It starts with our affiliate for us in Louisiana. So each program has the opportunity to nominate three students from their program to participate in that program. And so then they spend a separate day in the LSRT Student Leadership Development Program, and then that makes them eligible for them to apply for the ASRT Student Leadership Development Program.
Okay.
So, for the last several years, we have had students from our program that were selected for the ASRT Student Leadership Development Program. And I find it to be such an incredible experience for them.
Yeah.
And, this year, sitting in the management chapter meeting, uh, I had two of our students that were there. So this year from Louisiana, there were three students. ASRT gave us the incredible opportunity to enter a pool. And so some of the affiliates, instead of sending two participants in that program, they were picked to choose three. And
Wow.
Louisiana was one of the states that got to send three. Again, it was a pool. So we were lucky enough to, I guess, have our names drawn out of a hat. I'm not real sure how that worked. I'm not going to question it. But, what an incredible opportunity for all of these
Mhm.
states. And I think it was 23 states to be able to send three participants instead of two. And I think that just, that's a testament to the ASRT and how they invest in these future leaders in our program. So to back up a little bit,
Yeah.
I got off track there.
No,
I'm
following right along.
I like to talk a lot, right, Melanie?
We're talkers, we're educators, so yeah, we're good at talking.
So, we're sitting in this management chapter meeting, and two of the students that were chosen this year from Louisiana were from our program, Cam and Heaven, and I they're talking about burnout. They're talking about increasing care, efficiency of care, quality
Mhm.
of care, workflow, and all these things. And the two students that were sitting on the side of me, they were like tablets, gimbal boards. What about the $2 increase in minimum wage? And they were saying all these things, and I said, "Y'all, stand up."
Yeah,
And I don't want to stand up. I said,
fear of
stand up.
public speaking.
I said "Stand up." I said, "We have so much that, you think of Hammond, Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana, not much here, right? Compared to 1,000-bed hospitals that some of these people were representing, and we're a little over 300 beds here." And I said, "Y'all, stand up, share."
Stand up and
Everybody in
share.
this room, no matter how big or how small that facility is, has something to share. Everybody has a different experience. And both of them stood up and talked about their experiences here at our health system and what we're doing here in those areas. And I'm just going to tell you that, you have proud program director moments, and you're sitting there and you're like, man, it just doesn't get any better than this. And then something gets better than that. And that was that moment.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So they lived through getting up and saying what they were talking about under their breath.
They
And that's a
survived.
memorable moment for them. That's hard to do the first several times or the 500th time. It is hard to do. So I know what you're saying on both sides. I know how they felt, and I'm thinking about you too. Those proud program director moments. I can think of a few just right now coming to mind. So yes, I hear that. And so they shared. And what happened after that? I mean, did engagement start, or people were like, "Oh yeah"? I mean, what was the aftermath of that?
Sure. So lots of head nods. People going to this meeting, everybody gets it. You know that you're in this together.
True.
Whatever the struggles might be, or, whatever the great things might be. So you're in it together, but there was a lot of head nods like, yeah, we get that. I feel like it was really important. One of those students, Cam, had shared in that meeting. We always preach to our students that it is a 2-year job interview. Like the
Right.
very first day, we tell them this is a 2-year job interview. But Melanie, that's changed somewhat over the years. I know that whenever I graduated X-ray school a long, long time ago,
Thank
back in 1996, there
Yeah.
was one full-time job opening within like a 50-mile radius. And so, yeah, it was more of a job interview for the student.
Yeah.
It's different now. And so now those students are going into these clinical education settings, and it's a job interview for those managers and for that setting, because they can go pretty much anywhere they want to work now. It's not like it used to be where there was such like there was techs everywhere.
Yeah.
It was hard to get a job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was more of a job interview for you. And I do feel like that's something that has transitioned over the years. And for old timers, I mean, there's a lot of old school thought for me too that I've had to change, that sometimes that can be hard, that mindset, that the shift
Yeah.
from it's a 2-year job interview for the student
Mhm.
as it is for just as it is for that clinical setting. And so
Yeah.
oftentimes we have to say, well, if you don't have students that are wanting to come here after they've been a student here, well, we might need to address that, and why is that, and work together so that they do want to work there, because I mean ultimately we want our students to be happy, and that's what I tell them here.
Yeah.
My goal as an educator is for them to come out of this program to be a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
And also for them to be happy what they're doing. Because if you're not happy in what you're doing, you don't have passion for what you're doing, then you tend to kind of bleed all over everybody else, right? Just as a
Mhm.
smile is contagious, so is a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And so when they go into that workforce, I want them to be happy in what they're doing.
Thank you for that, Heather, because you and I are from the same generation. I graduated in '93 in little bitty Lufkin, Texas, and I worked as a student tech at night because that's what we could do back then, and promised this 3 to 11 job when I graduated. I didn't promise you that. Well, I
Right.
had to leave and move to Houston to go to work, and so I've been here ever since. But we have told students the same thing we were told all that time ago. It's to your job interview, and everybody knows everybody, and that is still true, but as you have noted, and me being in Texas and you being in Louisiana, we're not far from each other, but what you said is so true right there. The shift has happened
Yep.
because these I'm gonna go to the extreme and say these toxic departments,
Mhm.
they do exist, or these not student friendly departments that do exist, or technologists or whatever. They are out there, and that y'all are shorthanded thinking, oh well, we'll grab some of these students that are graduating. You know what? They may not want to come work there, and they don't have to, because it's like you said, there was one job when you graduated, and it might have been deep nights, 7 on, 7 off, and you had to stay on that for years until somebody died or moved.
Mhm.
And that is not true anymore.
Right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, thinking, oh, well, we'll get these students and they'll take the weekend shift or whatever. They don't have to anymore. They can go somewhere else where they had a better experience, or go to the unknown, which is sometimes a better roll anyway of the dice. So I'm so glad you mentioned that shift, because it does exist. And some of these technologists that are out there with bad attitudes and that aren't student friendly. And if I'm speaking to you, yes, I'm speaking to you out there if you're listening. Or if you work with this tech and you know who it is, y'all are shooting yourselves in the foot when when students rotate through your departments and they see this culture of, well, everybody just avoids her, don't pay her any mind. Well, maybe somebody should say something to her, because that's hurting the chances of future employment opportunities that we could have that we're not going to have because of said person. So
Absolutely.
it is a 50-50 interview now. And that's something that everybody needs to be looking at. It is a 50-50 interview. So thank you for bringing that up very much.
Sure.
So was this discussed with the SLDP students out there, or is this something you've been discussing within your department?
So, I will tell you, last year, whenever I came back from the ASRT meeting, I had sent out a meeting invite to the managers in our clinical education setting,
Yeah,
and supervisors. And then also the student to leadership development program participant from last year, Brandon, who attended. I asked him to be part of that meeting too. And we shared some of the things that we talked about in
right.
some of those chapter meetings. And I'm not a manager. In a department.
Right.
However, I am a manager of students and
Yeah,
instruction.
yeah.
And so, I mean, I'll tell you that whenever I believe the delegates have to go to one meeting.
Mm,
Well, I'm there. I'm going to make the most of this experience, right? So I go to one meeting in each time slot.
yeah,
And in that time slot, I was looking last year and I said, I guess I'll go to this management meeting, and then I'll go to radiography and, of course, education.
uh-huh.
And last year, radiography and education might not like me for this, but last year and this year, that meeting is the best, and I definitely will be joining that chapter.
Wow. The
There's so
management
much.
chapter.
The management chapter. There's
Speak
so
to
much.
that, if you will. Tell me why.
There's just so much that comes out of there, and I find that there's I don't know, I think that they speak a lot about the things that we deal with, not saying the other chapters don't, but there's things like burnout. that everybody is dealing with, of
Yeah.
course. And I mean, that's been a struggle for a really, really long time. And
Mhm.
and this year they addressed, and I guess it hit home for me. Again, I was going back to that whole I'm not a manager.
But you are.
Right, right.
Mhm.
But we're burning these students out before they even get out of school. So then that's whenever I'm like, okay. So I'm asking our two students that are sitting right there with me, Cam and Heaven, I'm writing on a piece of paper and I'm passing it to them. And I said, tell me ways that I can prevent your burnout. And I said, and I put due by Tuesday, laugh out loud. Well, and I thought they were just going to put it in their backpack and, tell me something later or whatever. Well, for the rest of that afternoon, they're just sitting there and they're writing stuff and they're giving me feedback. And I mean, it was just so, I don't know, I feel like the students were able to engage in that meeting too, and
Yeah.
that's why it was my favorite this year. Sure, we
Wow.
went to radiography and we went to education, but the engagement that I saw in them in that meeting is
Yeah.
what made me happy. Sure, they were engaged in the other ones, but they just really, I don't know what it is. And just some of the stories that people share and the things that stick with you when you come out of that meeting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I found it I found it very good. I'm
Well,
already a member of the education and radiography chapters, but I'll be doing the management one too.
that is awesome, Heather. You said something there, I say you are a manager of people. Um, you get new groups every year of people that you manage, and you're policy writing, and you're doing all of those things, and you're evaluating. So, I mean, you are a manager of people. So, what kind of feedback did you get from those students on how to address burnout? Because we talk about
So
burnout on this show all the time.
yeah, okay. So, here in our program, at the beginning of every month, we give them a little certificate for their birthday. So everybody that has a birthday that month, they get a
I
little
love to
certificate.
recognize
I mean,
birthdays.
these are like little, just they're the cutest little things with a birthday cake, whatever I can find cute on Amazon, right?
Hmm.
And then they get a candy bar. So we acknowledge their birthdays at the beginning of every month. We give kudos as well. And so, if a technologist in the department or a clinical preceptor sends an email that one of the students did a great job that day, again, we have certificates and they might say something like, you rock. And it has rocks all over it. They're kind of corny, but they're fun.
No, but that little 5-10 minutes it took you to put that together, that pat on the back, that goes a long way.
Yep.
You
And
know,
they
and I'm
they
going to
do.
show this to you because I have it. I did Strengths Quest several years ago. Number one, significance. Recognizing a birthday, recognizing a good job that someone told you about me, that is that's priceless. It is. And that means a lot. It does.
It
Sorry to
really
interrupt.
is.
Keep going. I'm
Yeah,
writing down your point.
it's the little things, like that, a certificate that you keep hanging back there. I'll show you my wall back here.
Yeah.
And so you'll see cards up there, and some of those cards are from our president CEO, Michelle Sutton. And then there's also cards up there from my direct report, the Chief Human Resources Officer here, Jeff Gyro. And so if I do right? I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen everywhere.
No, it
Um,
doesn't.
and so if something happens good, they will send you a card. And so that really inspired me. So I had stationery printed with North Oak School Radiologic Technology on it.
That is
And
great.
I have sent those cards, and I find that mailing something, people aren't used to getting stuff in the mail.
Mm.
So if a student does something great, or let's say they have a hardship, I'll write them a note and I drop it in the mail. And I learned that from the leaders here. I was a card person and I come from the days of pen pal, right? Where we used to write on
When we
stationery.
were in school, I had one in England that she and I wrote back and forth together for so many years, and then we grew up and lost touch. But I remember how excited I would be to get her airmail stuff, I'm from that day too of having a pen pal.
Well, and I think that that's some of the things that we miss out now in our society is just those personal touches. And we're sitting here talking about pen pals, and so my best friend since kindergarten, you don't find those a lot, right?
No, you don't.
So we were best friends starting in kindergarten. Her name is Jamie. She's actually the clinical pharmacy manager here at North Oaks Health System.
Wow.
Small world,
Yeah.
and so we were best friends, and, she had to move away, a couple of times throughout our friendship and through elementary and middle school. Uh, Her dad was working, so, Mr. Herndon would go off to other places working, and, so we never lost touch, though, and we would write notes to each other. Well, just this year, she was helping clean out some things at her mom and her late dad's house, and she sent me a picture, and it was from, like, 4th grade. It was on teddy bear paper, um, and so, yeah, and then there was another note from when we were in college, our 1st year in college that she found that she sent me, and I those things are just so special, and I just think that sometimes we lose touch with the little things that matter, and look, I'll tell you, those things take effort.
They
It
do.
it takes
I dropped the ball, and I will still get a card from someone who remembered my birthday that I haven't worked with in years, and a shout out to you, Heidi Stump. I know you're listening. You send my birthday card every year, and I used to be so big about cards, but I am with people I work with for sure, but I need to take a step back and do all of those things because they are memorable. I'm thinking about them right now, and you'll easily forget an email, something or another. That matters. It does.
I'll tell you one more story. So it was whenever I first became program director, and our students participate in the LSRT scientific essay competition. Well, that year we had a clean sweep. So our students placed first, second, and third. We had another clean sweep last year too.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so yes, get this card in the mail, and it was addressed to my husband, and it said, Jeffrey Koepp. And so I said, "This is from North Oaks. I don't know what this is, but it's somebody's handwriting. It's not like a survey or a bill
Right.
or whatever."
Press Ganey, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Open it. What is that?" And he opens it up, and it was a note from the president CEO, Michelle Sutton, to my husband that said, basically thanking him for giving me essentially and knowing the time that I put into this job. Yes. And that thank you for sharing me with the health system.
Wow. Okay, I've never heard of a card like that,
No,
ever.
no.
I don't know,
And
my husband might get some hate mail from some former students, but, oh my gosh, that is very special.
it was very, very special. And so of course it kind of came it became a joke around the house for a little bit, your boss sent me a card in the mail, that kind of stuff. And then my boss, Jeff Gyro, he whenever I was on the cover of the scanner, um,
Yeah.
he printed out that scanner cover and he put it inside of a card tube. So,
Oh, wow.
really
Well,
nice
that is a big deal being on the cover of the ASRT scanner. That it's on my list of hope to have sometimes. So that is a big deal.
Right.
And you're like the
Shout
third
out
person I
to mom.
personally know that has been on the cover, like friends connections to mine. So maybe it will happen one day. I'm real proud of y'all. Yeah.
Alright, you hear that, Lee? We gotta put Melanie on that cover, right?
I'm ready.
I'm telling you, I don't even know how that happened. I mean, I wrote a
I'm
couple
not at all surprised.
short articles, and one day I remember I was running, and my phone rings, and I said, Who's it?" So I stopped, and it was Lee Ross, and he said, "Hey, I got a, proposal for you." And I'm like, "What you want me to write?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Is this a joke?"
He probably is like, no.
Happened. But that was such an incredible experience, and again, I just feel like that's a way that the ASRT reaches out to their members and really
Sure.
involves them because, I mean, they could draw something or put something on the
Yeah,
scanner. No, they choose their members to
they
put
do.
on the front of their scanner,
They do.
and they involve them, and I just think that's so great, and, whenever, this passed, I will say this when you were asking earlier about the House of Delegates meeting
Yeah.
and changes and bylaws changes and things like that, there was discussion about, membership. And, of course, rates. Well, nobody wants to pay more for anything, right? But that's just not what the world that we live in.
Right.
And, membership for the ASRT is $125. And
Yep.
I think that membership is actually valued at either $800 and $850. And for me, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking $125, even $150.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm looking around that room and I'm looking at all those student to leadership development program participants, and I'm looking at those delegates that are sitting there in that house. That membership's worth it.
It is totally worth it. And we think
Absolutely.
about the things that are happening at the state and the national level, legally and
Mhm.
law-based, it is absolutely worth it. And, one thing I mention on here all the time is, don't go to the coffee shop for 2 weeks. There's your $125 for a membership, and they go, "Well, I can get." I've heard it all. I've heard it all. "I can get CE over here." Well, you know what? You're not giving $125 to ASRT for your CE. You're giving it for all of these other encompassing reasons and that are representing us on a state and national level, and you happen to get CE with it. That's not the goal for your membership. So it's all of these other very important reasons that the ASRT takes care of that. It takes care of us and uses that money for that.
Sure, and I mean it's the same with our state affiliate, the Louisiana Society of Radiologic Technologists. It's $40.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's $40,
Hmm.
and there are volunteers, out there, we don't get paid, and we're out there advocating for our patients and our profession, and I will say that the last couple of years, have been a struggle,
Hmm.
of course, with encroachment and things like that, and we've been working really, 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 really hard to protect, the patients in the state, in our profession. And so I just don't think that people see that enough. And I
Right.
so appreciated this year. I believe it was Melissa Pergola, and she mentioned something about Marka, and RAs, and said that we're out there working for you. You may not see it, but we are out there working for you. And I felt that so deep when she said that because this past, let's say, year and a half, 2 years, there's been a lot going on in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And there's been times before where people say, well, what about this? Or why didn't you tell this? Or whatever. Well, whenever you're doing advocacy work, there are some things that you should absolutely be very transparent about. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you have to be careful. There's someone that I admire that works in patient advocacy here in Louisiana, and she taught me something. She said, you don't always want to show your hand. It's kind of like
That's
poker.
right. It is.
I just showed my hand, I guess, by saying that. But I think that
But no, that's
everybody that
true. When you
advocates
get down
too.
to every point, you may not want to go over every point, but
Right.
knowing that the ASRT is representing us at that level as well as yeah, nationally and at the state level, that's where the money is going to. And I just want to tell people, do your research because you're not paying $125 for your CE every year. That's not what that is. Your CE is there if you want to use that. I get CE from everywhere. I get it from LSRT. I get it from TSRT. I get it from AHEC. I get it from everywhere. So that's just a byproduct of what your membership is doing.
Sure.
And so I wish people really would think about that. And, well, how much are you spending on this and this and this? Just refrain from that a few days a month, and there's your $125 saved up, and it's going to do so much
Right.
for the profession. So let's switch gears just a minute, Heather, and talking about LSRT. And I'm so glad we were able to get this done because I'm looking forward to coming soon. Talk about LSRT, where it's going to be, what we can anticipate to happen, and what is planned.
Sure. Yeah. So going back to the CEs, and you said that you get CEs from the LSRT. Well, a little shout out here to you, Melanie. I see that you're on that speaker list, and people are going to be getting CEs from you.
Yay! I will keep you from sleeping. I promise. I won't let you go to sleep.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that lecture. I cannot wait. So, the 67th annual meeting will be held in Lafayette this year, July the 10th through the 12th. Most often, the day starts on Thursday and it's the student activities. And so we have the t-shirt competition, which is always a fun time. And I'm just throwing this out there. Our t-shirts are good this year. I mean, they're really good.
Are the students going to be selling their T-shirts?
They're not selling them, but I
Okay.
have a feeling that we're gonna get asked about them.
I'm
I don't
thinking if they're
wanna
that good,
brag.
I might need to bring my cash along so that I can buy a couple of T-shirts.
We might have to at some point sell these because they came out pretty good.
Awesome.
So they're pretty proud of them. I'll just give you kind of a little hint.
Mhm.
It's all Louisiana, the
Oh,
main
well,
state.
you got me there because I love all the colors involved and all the everything and the fleur-de-lis and all that. That's all my jam. So even though I'm a Texas girl through and through, I love all that too.
Yep. So t-shirt competition, and then also the student council and election of those officers,
Wow.
and then also the quiz bowl. And in Louisiana, we like we like the grit of the quiz bowl. It's I like to say that we're friendly competitive, but I
Mhm.
really don't know how friendly it is all the time.
Because
Um,
we wanna win.
we're a pretty competitive group here, these programs in Louisiana. And so Dr. Kevin Clark will be the moderator this year. He has been
I
the
can't think of anybody more appropriate for it. So,
he is a blast. He's
yes,
been the moderator before, and he's got some stuff with him.
I can just imagine.
He's a fun time. So
Yeah.
that will be, on Thursday afternoon,
Okay.
and is starting Friday morning. Our keynote speaker will be your 93rd ASRT president, Mr. Brandon Smith.
Yay, yay. And that will be very entertaining as well, I'm sure. I know Brandon very
Absolutely.
well. Mhm.
He and Dr. Clark, they run a pretty close race in entertainment. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw my friend in there, Dr. Hicks, too, from Connecticut.
Oh, well, we
Um,
can't forget about Jay.
I
Mhm.
can't forget about Jay. So they're all pretty entertaining people.
For
Um,
sure.
so we have a full day of lectures on Friday, and then Saturday we have lectures as well. And then we'll have our luncheon, awards luncheon, and our induction of officers, and then that will conclude our 67th annual meeting. So we're looking forward to it. I looked a while ago, and we have an incredible 15 sponsors and donors this year.
That's great. That is
Yeah.
great.
We have
That
15. I was like, "Where did the" and I saw another familiar one on there, some AHEC.
Yes, of course we
Yes,
support our Louisiana society. Yes.
absolutely. So, yeah, so 15, and then we had 13 speakers, I believe.
It's wonderful.
And so people really come out, and I don't know if it's like this in every state. Well, let me back up. I know that it's not, because sitting in those ASRT affiliate delegate meetings, um, we talk about things that are going on in different states, and I know that there are some states that are struggling to have meetings.
Yes.
But here
Or
in
that
Louisiana,
aren't having them anymore or don't have a society anymore, and I'm just
correct.
like, "What?" That aren't they're nearby our neighboring states. It's like, "Oh my gosh, y'all, don't let it die. Let's keep it going." Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, people, I don't know if they like coming to Louisiana for the culture,
Yeah,
the food, I mean, if we're
right?
gonna be honest.
It's gonna be good
Um,
food. Mhm.
and every year I'll say that I've been on the board, you're nervous. You're nervous about, are we gonna have vendors? Are we gonna ha or
Sure.
is this school coming? Or, how many technologists are we gonna have? Um, and so it always just works.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. My listeners out here, first of all, about LSRT, make it a fun weekend. Go get some continuing education. First of all, sign up and go. You can go to lsrt.net and find out all about the meeting and registering there. Do some networking. Yes, I get CE online too. I get it from wherever and anywhere it just happens to be. But you can do that, but you're not getting that networking factor. And so go and network with fellow technologists, students, check out their t-shirt contest, check out the vendors, be a vendor at Louisiana or your local society, your state society, and be involved. That kind of gets back to the personal piece that Heather was talking about earlier, that we don't send cards anymore, that we just do everything electronically. Well, we don't have to do that in this realm either. And that networking factor, you never know with shaking a hand and meeting a new face what that's going to do for you in a year or 5 years.
Sure.
Hence,
Yeah,
I'm at AHEC now because I went to a table with gents Garza that I did not know at the time. And I thought I'd just go introduce myself because that's how I am. And I know other people at AHEC back in the day, but I didn't know her. And hence she called me up and offered me a job. So, you never know how the networking piece is going to open up doors for you, professionally, personally. Hey, could I ask a favor? You never know that networking piece, what that does, and supporting students, the next generation of our technologists, how important that is, and connecting that way. So, yeah, very important, guys. Check out LSRT. Make it a quick weekend road trip, a long weekend. Go to New Orleans after. Make it a fun time. Go to Baton Rouge, get some good food, get some good dancing. There's good dancing. I love some good dancing too. And there's
live
always good
music.
dancing in a roadside restaurant slash live band playing. That's what Louisiana always has for me when I'm on the road somewhere. So,
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
and I'll say, Melanie, last year in my, presidential speech, acceptance speech, I talked about what you were talking about with the networking and meeting people and just really putting yourself out there, and I'm fully transparent person, and I said, "Look, I have not always been actively involved in the ASRT or the LSRT. I'd be lying if I sit here and said that for my entire, almost 30-year
Right.
career that I was. That was not always the case. Sure, we sent our students to the LSRT meetings. We went with them. We would participate in the quiz bowl. We would go to lectures, you know, the t-shirt competition, but we didn't really network. And we didn't really put ourselves out there. I've been a member of the ASRT, I think maybe for 13, 14 years
Hmm.
now, so half my career, because I always saw it as just a way that to get CEs.
Right.
And at that time, I was getting my bachelor's and then my master's, and so I didn't need CEs. And it wasn't
Right.
until I needed CEs that I became a member of the ASRT. And boy, was I missing out. And was I missing out on not going to these meetings and meeting these other educators at the LSRT and the ASRT. This past weekend, I got to hang out with some educators from Delgado that I don't ever get to see. And we shared so much
Wow.
together. And, at times you look at other programs and you might think, well, they're competition. Mm-mm. No, because these programs in Louisiana, they're all unique in their own way. We're not competition for one another. We
Right.
got to work together. There's change that's coming, and we need to be able to work together and collaborate. And so, after the long days, and we go and get something to eat and
Hmm.
uh, talking with these other educators at Delgado. Then when we came home, my husband, because he went with me, and he said, I so enjoyed that, and I was like,
Oh,
"I know you were probably bored," and he said, "No," he said, "I enjoyed listening to y'all talk about what y'all do and
right.
listening to them and listening to you," and he said, you know, he said, I found that enjoyable," he said, "and one thing that he noticed about all of us was that we all had passion for what we do and that we want the most for our students, not just the program, but
Mm-mm.
for the students."
Heather, you and I are on the same wavelength with that because I may not be a program or director anymore. I'm hence in continuing education now, but I had nearly the same conversation with a group of educators last week. And if you go back to our time when we were in school, and when I don't know about you, when I got into education, I started teaching in January 98. It was an us versus them mentality.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
either going to that program or you're coming to our program. And if you're not at our program, well, we don't have anything for you. And that was the culture when I started teaching that I went into. And I remember thinking how uncomfortable it made me feel. But when I went to school, it was like, okay, this is our service area right here.
Yep.
We don't go out and they don't come in. This is our service area. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how it is. And as over time, my years of teaching and moving to being a clinical coordinator and having to, okay, well, I know y'all have this program students, but there's got to be some love here. I have no problem sharing with them, and I'm not trying to take their space, but maybe we could send an evening student, or maybe we could send a weekend student, a second year weekend student, because they need level one trauma experience. So, I mean, I try to ease into that. And when I became a program director, I have educator connections from Louisiana to Texas to, Houston to Dallas to the Valley, wherever. And I don't go in there with, I'm here to take your place. I go in and I want to talk to other programs, say, how can we work together? We are all here for our students, and we're all here. We all have the same goal. We're all trying to get them through, make sure they're prepared, and make them ready for the workplace. So we need to be able to work together and get away from that old us versus them. We're all trying to reach the same destination as educators and get our students there. So I've had that mentality for the last many years, of my being an educator, and I would try to bring up baby educators the same way. We need to be able to work with them. So don't look down your nose at them, or, oh, well, they're from the other program. So what? Go up and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Melanie Hale. Who are you? And great to meet you. And, what struggles are you having? Don't make it an us versus them. We need to all work together, and that's very important. And I'm so glad I'm not the only person that thinks that.
Well, and look, that was the culture. Again, that's one of those mindset things that needs to change because
Yeah.
the same, whenever I was in school, I can remember my clinical coordinator and program director at the time, Miss Judy Bennett. She just recently passed away, and I can remember her going, "Oh, Delgado," and
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was about, but I just knew,
No.
oh, Delgado, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was just one example. And, in meeting these people and talking with these other educators, and there's enough students now to go around. The issue is
Yes.
the clinical settings and that space. But this past year, we take a class once a year, and we had 88 applications. Our maximum capacity here is 33. So we
Wow.
were only able to take 20 of those 88 applications. So when we have students that call after the process and say, "What can I do?"
Yeah.
And I know this is what they really wanna do,
Right.
it just didn't work out for them this time. I recommend other programs that are nearby, which we all are kinda spaced out in
Yeah.
Louisiana, but I do recommend other programs like Baton
Yep.
Rouge General that's right down the road from us. They start in January.
Hmm.
So I say, "Look, if this is something you don't wanna do and you don't wanna wait till next year, try
Hmm.
the Baton Rouge General. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket,"
That's
because
my
again.
that's my line right there. Apply to every program. You'd rather have
Yes.
2 or 3 letters of acceptance on your kitchen table than none.
Yep.
Apply to all of them.
I mean, sure, I want them to come here.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but but realistically, we cannot take every single
Right.
student that wants or applicant rather, that wants to be a radiologic technologist. But I do wanna see them succeed.
Yeah.
Because I think about it if it were my son Garrett, if this
Right.
is something that he really, really wanted to do, well, then I would hope that he would not just give up because, this program can only take one
Yeah.
however many students. And so, I mean, I feel like that's really, really important that we all support one another, whether you're a hospital-based program or
Absolutely.
a certificate program like us, or an associate degree program, or a bachelor's program,
Mhm.
that everybody supports one another because I don't know that any educator is going to say, my goal is that I graduate um, technologists that are average. No,
No, not at all.
everybody has the same goal, whether it's a certificate program,
Yeah.
associate, or bachelor's, and we just all have to work together to get there. So ultimately, it affects patient care, and so we want the best for our patients. That's why we do.
100%. You said it right there. Ultimately, it affects patient care. And again, I mean, I just was thinking of different scenarios as I was hearing you there. But I was trying to change this mindset and thinking, I mean, I can think of educators that are long gone that aren't here or are either here or don't teach anymore. That why are you talking to those students? Those aren't even our students because I'm trying to be nice. I don't wanna make students feel uncomfortable in a department anyway, and then here comes this other program, director or clinical coordinator or faculty. I go up and say hello. They've got a question, answer it. What are you getting by not being nice to them? I don't understand that. Students are students, and educators should be educators and just take care of those little chickadees. That's our job, and make sure that they make it where they need to be. And
Well, we have
so
to lead the way.
we
Um,
do.
you
We have to lead the way and by
know,
example.
we have to lead the way. And, hopefully, whenever our students see me volunteering for the ASRT or serving as an officer on a committee for the LSRT or whatever it is, I hope that inspires them to
Yeah,
want to do the same. And they're like, okay, if Miss Heather can do this, then I can do this.
yeah.
And so, I just hope that they mimic that.
Well, thank you for that, Heather. What would you want to say? And you kind of touched on it a while ago. It was actually something I wanted to close with. What would you want to say to that person listening who really wants to do this, but is overwhelmed, um, has heard that there are 200 applicants to the local program, and I'm never going to be able to get in to the 25 seats that they have? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I know. I feel like we've covered a lot,
We
Melanie.
did cover a lot.
I mean, I feel like I just say don't give up.
Yeah.
One of my favorite little hashtags, I guess you will, or things is remember your why.
I
And
have that written right here. Remember your why, because
yes,
I saw you said that. Yeah,
yes. So remember your why. And for everyone that why is different, and it also changes over a period of time.
sure.
What was my why, years ago is still my why, but then
Yeah,
I add to that. It might have been something small or maybe one or two people, and now it's three or four people. And so just, remember why you want to become a radiologic technologist. And I know it sounds so cliche to say, well, because I want to work in healthcare, because I want to help people.
yeah.
But isn't that your why?
Isn't
Don't you
that your
want to help
why?
people?
Yeah,
And, it would be so much easier for me, because I bring a lot of my boss, Jeff, called me out on this last week and told me you put a lot of stress on yourself by doing some of the things that you choose to do. And and that's absolutely 100% right because it would be a lot easier not to advocate for the patients in the state and just whatever happens happens, right?
yeah,
Not to put yourself out there that extra mile. But that's not okay with me.
yeah.
I it's and advocacy is also kind of addicting. Once you start it, you wanna learn more, you wanna do more,
Want to
you're
do
in the
more.
process, but
Yeah.
you wanna
Yeah.
dig your heels and because, you wanna do what's right for the patients. One of the things that I miss about being in patient care is patient care.
Sure.
I love being an educator. Absolutely love what I do, but I do miss that direct patient interaction.
Yeah.
However, I hope that I am impacting patients indirectly by what I teach our students and then also the advocacy work that we're doing here in Louisiana to
Mm.
protect them. So yeah, but don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
It doesn't always happen. My son, he told me I want to help people, but I don't want to go to your program. And I said, well, that's probably a good thing, Garrett, because that's probably not going to work out for either one of us. But what do you think you want to do? And he's an apprentice lineman, and he said, this is a way that I can help
Great.
people.
Boy, I'd say every
And I wanna be
day.
outside, and he wanted to be outside, and so he saw that as his way of helping people.
Sure.
So as long as you are helping people, you're contributing to society and to the community, you're good to people, and you remember why you're doing what you're doing, I just feel like that's so important.
That is so important. Heather, Koepp, thank you so much for joining us. Listeners, guys, make it a long weekend trip. Go to Louisiana to LSRT July 10th through 12th. 2025 in Lafayette at the Doubletree by Hilton. You can find them on lsrt.net. And Heather, I'm just so thankful to have you on the show, and we can't wait to see what is going to happen with LSRT, with your students, with advocacy over the next couple of years and see where we're going.
Sure, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for considering me and having me. I'm
Oh,
I'm so excited about this.
I'm thrilled to have you. And thanks so much for being on the Radiology Roundup. Hey, y'all. Melanie Hale here with Advanced Health Education Center in Houston, Texas. AHEC has been a leading provider of continuing education for healthcare professionals in the imaging sciences since 1988. Our mission is to provide you, the radiologic technologist, physician, sonographer, nurse, and allied health professional with evidence-based education and training that increases your knowledge, enhances your competency, and overall improves patient care. Technologists, has the time come to learn a new modality? Are you limited in your resources and, more importantly, time available to learn a new modality? AHEC is here to help. We have online and in-person delivery methods available for mammography, bone densitometry, sonography, CT, and MRI. AHEC also offers CME for physicians, including in-person ultrasound training. We have continuing education available via live webinar, on demand, at-home study, and in person. We offer specialized corporate training classes both online and in person. Do you have a specific staff training need? We will come to you. Want to host a continuing education event for your staff and community? Hey, we do that too. Did you know AHEC also offers mammography consulting services? We provide on-site services to assist with regulatory inspection issues as well as accreditation reviews. Our consultants can design an acceptable compliance plan or a plan of action to correct deficiencies specific to your facility. Check us out at aheconline.com. Check us out wherever you social, like, follow, subscribe, and stay in touch with the many course offerings, events, and stackable learning courses we offer. Have a specific need? Give us a call at the office, 800-239-1361. Make the change from cheap continuing education to affordable, quality education that you can use. It's time to invest in yourself. Hey, y'all. In today's takeaways with our guest, Heather Koepp, she had several that I've just got a full page of notes that I was writing as I was listening to her share with us today. And the first thing I want to really touch on is she was talking about her trip to the ASRT annual meeting, and she called it a rad tech revival. Well, I think that's like light from heaven on that term, because an annual meeting at ASRT, it is a rad tech revival, but so is the state meeting. When I go to the Texas Society of Radiologic Technologists, or when I go to New York or to Louisiana's, and everyone's a little bit different, but they do have that same feel of networking and hearing the latest, greatest technology or changes that are coming, or connecting with maybe someone you went to school with that you haven't seen in years. It is a revival. And I love that term that she stated for us, and I will be using that again. But it is a rad tech revival, and it is just networking on a whole different level than the day to day that you may have in your department or on your job. And so I just, if you listen to this podcast, I advocate for ASRT, for our state society meetings. And that is just sums it up. It is a revival, it is a coming together, it is a renewing, it is a refreshing. And so, if you've not been to either of those in a long time, or maybe you've never been, make it a fun trip, and make it a work trip. That's I say a work trip. Make it something that's going to benefit your work, but make it a fun trip. Take a colleague, take a friend, and benefit from that rad tech revival, because that's what it is. Um, Heather was talking about sitting with her SLDP students in one of the meetings at the ASRT, and that they were, getting so much from what was being said and kind of talking under their breath back and forth. And she was trying to encourage them, stand up and say that, get up and share. And it was very nerve wracking. It's nerve wracking for anyone to get up and stand in front of people, but especially students, but that they did. And her point was, no matter how big or small, say something and share. I've always encouraged this, whether I'm lecturing or whether I'm sitting and listening. I definitely want to respect that speaker, but as we get to the end, I've made some little points like I do here, and just think, oh, you really touched me when you said this, or I have a question about something you said there. Share and say something, be engaging. You may say something that someone else gets something from. So definitely share, and don't be afraid to get up and say something. It's probably the number one fear of most people is public speaking, but you never know those couple of sentences you have to say, how that could touch someone else, or open a door of, oh, well, we haven't thought of that. That is a good question. So share that. Share your thoughts. Be engaging. You do have something to offer for sure. Things are different now. She and I came from the same era of coming up as a student back in the early to mid 90s in X-ray school. And what was told to us, and what Heather mentioned, is what I've told students for many years. It's a 2-year job interview, and that is 100% true. Students should be on their best when they are rotating through a department. But here in the year 2025, and I saw this especially after COVID as a program director in education, it is really turning into a 50-50 job interview. There are staff, there are departments, there are choices for graduates now, that they don't have to take the only job available that's, deep nights, 7 on, 7 off, or full-time weekends, because that's all there is. Like it was when we graduated, you took the job available, and it was usually that job because that person was moving up to a day shift or to an evening shift, and you're going to get that and be glad that you have it. That's not the case now. There are a plethora of jobs everywhere. And so they can go to work at an imaging center 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, with no call, no holidays. And they don't have to come work in the department for, a hospital department for a dollar less an hour and work holidays and take call twice a month and work with potentially toxic technologists. And I may not be speaking to your department. And if that is true, praise God, that's wonderful. But there are those departments and there are those technologists or maybe management or whatever the case may be that they've rotated through that department and they've seen that. And in their mind, they're thinking, I will never work here. They have options, guys. So when we talk about the shift has happened, things are different now. They are. It's not all about, well, we're going to hire a bunch of these new grads and fill some of these, openings we have because, that's what will happen. But that may not happen. You may not get those applicants that you have in the past because graduates have options now. And so if this is your department or you have that employee, you might want to do something about it because it might be scaring off potential applicants to your department to get your department fully staffed or to bring in new technologists so that your seasoned technologists can train in modalities and fill other openings that you have. It's different now. And well, that's how it was when I came up, and that's just how it is. And, everybody knows there's one tech in the department that students can't work with. This is just a different day and time, guys. And it's time to adapt that culture and to create an inviting culture if your department is not that. So that whether it's a new graduate, a student, or maybe it's somebody who is just looking to move to another part of town, we do know that the imaging profession is very small. Everybody still knows everybody. And if I don't know you, I know somebody that does. So creating that supportive culture is very important. It always has been, but it really is now. Something that Heather mentioned that I feel is very important, and I will be the first to admit that I don't do it as well as I used to. And I want, as a person, for my own peace and soul to get back to, and that is recognizing birthdays with a real birthday card, not just a happy birthday post on their Facebook page, although that's helpful too. But especially those that really are in your inner circle, your friends, your colleagues. If you're a department manager, if you're a program director, she was giving the example of what she does for her students, that at the first of the month, they recognize all the birthdays in the program for the students for that month. They get a card, they get some recognition, maybe they have a cake. Public kudos. I can remember as a program director, I might get a text, I might get an email from a department that says, Sally, I just wanted to let you know, Sally took great care of this patient the other day. There was a problem. She just went above and beyond. And we all recognize that. And I just wanted to be sure that you knew that. And then and what that does in turn for maybe the program director or the faculty or a manager or a supervisor to recognize that person and say, good job. Here is what we heard that you did and that it was recognized you went above and beyond. And here is this recognition, or here is a handwritten card from me thanking you for going the extra mile for that patient or for that person and what an actual card can do for them. I have many mementos and pictures here, and I've got boxes full of them that people have given me because it did mean something to me to get that. And we live in a world now where everything is electronic. I can get it free. I can do this, and that's helpful too. I don't want to dismiss that. But getting a card, getting publicly recognized for just 30 seconds goes a long way. And it's something that it means a lot to me to be recognized for things that I've done above and beyond. And I know that it means a lot to others to be recognized above and beyond. And so it doesn't cost us anything. Maybe have a box of blank cards that you can just reach for and do that, put a stamp on it. So it might cost you 70 cents for a stamp, but that's okay. It's what it might do in the long run that's priceless for that person. And she called them the little things. They do still matter. And in our fast and furious and again electronic world, we can all still do these things that mean a lot. As I've mentioned in other episodes, be a part of the bigger picture. If you're not going to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for the markup bill or go to your state legislature like in Austin and do that, then at least be a member. Be a member of your state society, be a member of your national ASRT society, and many others. There are many AHRA heirs, so many that I'm not mentioning right now. Write a check, become a member. Let your money be supporting these very important efforts. You're not doing it for the CE. That is a byproduct of what your membership does. And realize that. She mentioned that the ASRT annual membership fee of $125 actually carries about an $850 value for the technologist membership. So that's a lot. And again, maybe it's cutting out coffee a few mornings for the month, or going out to lunch a few times a month to justify your budgeting for that $125. And I'm going to close with this. I love her. I saw it on her LinkedIn page this morning, Heather's page, and then she mentioned it, and I'd made a note to ask her about it. And it's hashtag remember your why. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. If you've gotten past that and it's not you're doing now is not why you started it, then maybe you need to get to another place, another job, another passion, and remember your why. If it's to help people, if it's for patients, if it's a passion for students, a passion for propelling the profession, um, sharing with others, remember your why. And I'm so grateful to Heather to remind us of these little things and to remember our why we're doing what we're doing. A special thanks to John Largent, my producer, and his team at Largent Media. Um, just I want to thank them for all that they do and guiding us along this podcast journey. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Guys, you can help this podcast by sharing it with another professional you think would be interested in what we're doing here. We have had, if you've not listened to all the episodes, we've done about 15 episodes now. Go back and listen if you haven't. We're going to have some amazing guests to come, as we have already, and just help us grow by sharing this with someone you think that would be interested. Thanks so much, and peace, love, and rad, y'all. Go out there and spread some kindness.